Hey guys! Well, this is one of my less favorite parts of living on a homestead, but we noticed the other day that somebody was munching our peas. So what I did was I actually stuck a game camera out here to figure out who was doing the deed. Because there's been times in the past, well, I had trouble years ago with my green beans when it turned out it was my dog that was actually eating the green beans. He would walk down the row between the plants and actually munch off the end of the baby green beans. And our suspicion on here was that it was probably either mice or rats or something. And the video about the game camera the other day showed us that we actually definitely had some rodents running around. At least one of them is a kangaroo rat, and we did not catch any kangaroo rats last night. But I put out 5 rat traps and 3 mouse traps, and I got 2 robbed mouse traps, but I got 3 mice. So what I do is I just lay them, or I wait till everybody's in for the night, and then this entire thing is encircled. And I do it from now on because even though it's early in the year and we have had a wet winter, for whatever reason, we have pretty good growth in some of the weeds in the yard, but outside the yard, there's not a lot out there for them to eat. So they're being heavily attracted by the fact that we have more green stuff in the yard. So, and I guess peas are particularly tasty, so yeah. If I want to have peas, I'm going to have to keep these guys hunted down. So every night from now on, I'll be setting these out after the critters come in for the last time. So actually what I do with the mice is I throw them over the fence, usually out onto the edge of the driveway, and they're usually gone within an hour, sometimes less. The crows and other big critters around here tend to learn my habits very quickly. I used to have, when we first moved here, we had the place was just totally encased in rodents. And I would run we called it my trap line every morning. And the crows would actually sit up in the tree and wait for me, and I would throw the mice out into specific spots around the property, and they would just come eat them. And we also have some cattle tanks and stuff over here that collect water off the roof. And in the past, there were a couple of times we had a pair of crows coming in during the summer for water every morning because there aren't that many sources of water for the birds around here. And the bird baths are a little small for a crow to drink from, although they sometimes will in desperation. And one morning I had gone out without gloves, and I was like, oh, there's a dead rodent in the cattle tank because it had drowned itself trying to get water. And sure enough, I came back later. The crows discovered that if they came in early in the morning, they could not only get a drink of water, but they could get a little breakfast snack. So we just sort of become part of Mother Nature and recycle with these. I have had a couple of friends suggest that I catch and release. Well, first of all, catch and release is against the law when it comes to wild animals, generally speaking, unless you have special permits. And I'd have to move these silly things miles in order to you know, and then I'm just giving them to somebody else. That doesn't seem like a very fair thing to do. So no, this is one of those things that it's like, no, it's not my favorite thing, but these rat traps are very efficient, and I polish them up. And that's a hint for you. When you're dealing with older rat traps, they get rusty from being out in the rain. Take a piece of fine sandpaper and sand this part here, because this will get rough enough from the rust that it actually won't slide the way it's supposed to. So yesterday afternoon, I spent a little time with some sandpaper and made sure that this was nice and smooth on all of these, and works like a charm. Because I'll use rat traps until they fall apart. I usually repair them several times before they die, and yeah. I'm going to fish up a few more because this needs to be completely surrounded for the next weeks and weeks until they're very big. And I may need to, we'll see how the rodent problem goes. But yep, that's just part of the gig. Unfortunately, if you're going to grow tasty things, there's going to be critters out there that are going to want to eat your tasty things. So yeah, it's one of my less favorite jobs, but a necessary one. I try and put them out just after dusk and pick them up early in the morning because I don't want to accidentally catch any birds, and I certainly don't want my critters getting into them. We have had to actually set during the day before when we've had trouble with squirrels, and what I do then is I put them inside milk crates to keep the birds off. I have occasionally caught a bird, but most of the time, if I'm careful, I can avoid catching any birds because they're our friends, not our enemies, generally speaking. Although, when it comes to peas, you can have trouble with both crows and jays. I have had my peas pulled out of the ground by jays on more than one occasion. So just take a watch. That's why we decided we were going to use the game camera, because we wanted to find out who was actually in here stealing stuff, because sometimes it'll turn out to be a bug, and bugs are harder to control. We have some large bugs that'll come along and snip things off here sometimes. So I hope this gives you a rather realistic, if not necessarily cheerful view, but sometimes you just have to do what you have to do if you're going to get your vegetables. And I don't like to use poison. What little poison we do use around here, we're very careful with, and it's limited to zinc-based poisons for gophers. The advantage to a zinc-based poison for gophers is that if a cat, for instance, or a dog finds a dead mouse that has died from the zinc-based poison, it will not hurt them. It's not like if you use strychnine, they can eat that dead pest and die from it. But zinc is just like you gave them a zinc multivitamin. It doesn't hurt them at all, but it kills the rodents. So keep on growing and good luck. Hopefully you guys won't have too many rodents, and hopefully we won't either, but I have very few hopes for that. So see you next time.